how do I secure?
Yeah, you can add another.
Well, actually,
we'll do what we do, man. We'll do what we do best, and we'll just talk.
Yeah, and I think that maybe, I mean, that's kind of going back to the origin of what we used to do. It was very loosely organized in some senses, and obviously we want to be more prepared than less prepared, but I don't even know what we're on right now. I don't even know what number we're on right now, because I had 45, I had 46, so I'm just calling this one 47 and assuming that's where we're at, because the last thing that I recorded was something about anabolic nutrition, and then there was one in between where I was completely like gone. I had been traveling the whole week, and then I had driven either that day or the day before. I think it was the day before. I had driven like 13 hours or something from Snoqualmie, Washington back to Discovery Bay, and I had like maybe a whole bottle of wine before I talked to you, and probably more than that. And I barely remember that conversation, which leads me to thinking that maybe we needed just a loosely organized cast, and specifically around this topic, because I was thinking about that over the course of the week, and I was thinking to myself, often we talk about what we ought to be doing. Nutrition modalities, fitness modalities, mentalities. This whole cast or anything that we put on leftcoastcaveman.com, we often talk about what we ought to be doing. This is what you ought to be implementing in your nutritional routine. This is what you could be implementing in your fitness routine. Excited to learn more about the Tabata timer. I've been doing that with my fitness modality, and I'm going to run some ideas by you today and see what you think in terms of the best way of doing that. But when it comes to the mentality piece, we often talk about what we should be doing, right? But I started getting into this idea of ecosystems and thinking about ecosystems and how what is missing in an ecosystem, or what is an ecosystem? Like, first of all, when you think of ecosystem, what do you think? What do you think of in terms of ecosystems?
I think of a complicated system that establishes an equilibrium by ways of all the intricate pieces that make up that specific area or zone or whatever it might be. So like the sum is more than, the whole is worth more than the sum of the individual pieces. That's what I think of, to quote, I think Plato, when it comes to an ecosystem.
Well, that was a very, for off the cuff and being put on the spot, that was actually a very accurate definition. Here are some of the definitions, a quick research: a biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment, a complex network. So you already touched on the complexity of it, or interconnected system. An ecosystem consists of all the organisms and physical environment with which they interact. These biotic and abiotic components are linked together through nutrient cycles and energy flows. Energy enters the system through photosynthesis and is incorporated into plant tissue. Talking simply about plants, but we could dive further into that. But this idea was really pressing on me in light of the last couple of weeks in my personal life, and getting on the cast and having that experience where I was not only unprepared, but a little bit drunk. And
you played it well, man. You seem a little tired.
Yeah, a little tired, a little out of it, and it was probably more tired than drunk, to be honest. It was probably not a good day to be drinking wine and then trying to do something mental, or cognitive. But thinking about this idea of ecosystem and this idea of often talking about what we should be implementing, I had a real strong sense of ecosystem with regard to the path that you're on, and thinking about what are you removing and what are you actively letting go? Because if you pay attention to your ecosystem, and we are organisms in an ecosystem, and I love that idea of energy flowing in and energy flowing out. So if So in response to that week, I really started contemplating, okay, what energy am I allowing into my ecosystem that's not bringing me closer to my goals or not bringing me closer to my ideal sense of life? And not only that, but breaking that down by, okay, who is in my ecosystem that shouldn't be? What activities are in my ecosystem that shouldn't be? And what physical objects are in my ecosystem that shouldn't be? And thinking about that in terms of how we couch everything within nutritional modality, fitness modality, and mentality, and I think we've talked about resets in the past, and I know that we've gotten on this topic before, but really taking like daily and micro level, I think like a cave meditation on this topic for me is like every single day, every single moment almost, you should be assessing what are those people, mentalities. I mean, what are you thinking about? What are your thoughts? What are you allowing into your mind that shouldn't be there, that's not allowing you to progress towards your path? Is it negative self-talk? Is it talking about even the fact that I was beating the shit out of myself over that situation? It's like, okay, done. I can't take it back. All I can do is then take action in the moment, take a micro step in the moment. We've talked about micro decisions moving mountains as part of a mentality piece, and these micro checks along the way, but really purging and thinking about what are your surroundings, what are the physical objects, the physical activities, the mental activities, and the people along your path that should not be part of your ecosystem. Because in nature, this is where it all kind of ties together. Nature has a beautiful way of removing things that aren't a productive part of that ecosystem. Like, what example can you provide in a natural ecosystem where something doesn't, like some constituent part doesn't have a productive role within that ecosystem? Right?
I mean,
so
if I had to play devil's advocate, I don't know if I'm doing a good job of it. But I would say if we're looking, because we often like to separate ourselves from the ecosystem, right? But let's say we don't, and the things that we do, and granted, I don't have any take on this really in terms of degradation of planet, global warming, or any of those like hot topics, dude. I'm pretty far removed and uneducated, so I don't take a stand anywhere. But I would say I can at some level recognize that maybe we throw the whole system in some sort of disequilibrium, and maybe it's not beneficial for the overall other things that are here. I don't know. I don't really like. I know it just seems that way. So maybe we are in some way not like something the environment can't quite get rid of, or like, you know, like a cancer that's just like fucking continue to grow and like alter things. And maybe it's for the best. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I feel like we are some sort of dysregulated type thing, and maybe that's what makes us, you know, the stewards, the apex of this planet, or at least we like to look at it that way. Or some, I mean, wherever you want to take that, but that would be my only challenge.
Well, I don't think it's a challenge. I think it's proving the point. I think it's because human beings don't actively think about their role within the ecosystem that leads to that scenario. But if you do, or you're almost making the case or propping up the idea of how important it is to think of yourself as, what is my value to the ecosystem? What purpose am I leaving behind in my life? What energy am I bringing into my ecosystem that is a positive input to other people's ecosystems? Or are you making a positive contribution to the consciousness of human beings? Or if you break it down by what we talk about, which is nutritional modality, fitness modality, and mentality, are you spreading love? Are you spreading kindness? Are you spreading positive mentalities? Are you increasing the well-being of human beings around you? And you've touched on this before too, and I think it's profound and really a standalone topic for a future cast would be, and this is written in sacred texts in terms of human beings being made in the image of a creator, whether or not you believe that, the idea of just creativity in general. I mean, like, you don't see monkeys playing guitar. You don't see monkeys creating masterpieces of artwork. Maybe they do, I don't know. But just maybe that's the positive ecosystem that we bring into this planet, is creation, and the like a representation of creation that's tangible, that we can see, touch, feel, smell, good food, good culinary, good music, good art, these things that enrich life. Without it, I mean, if we were just a biological system, what fun would that be?
I mean, we've certainly increased complexity. That much is certain, right? To go from these natural foods that are out there to creating these amazing, clashes of flavor, from fats to salts and all these things. So, I mean, that's like the opposite of entropy. Is we put an energy into a system and we create order, and use it as a broad term. That's, I think, a lot of what we're doing. And I'm an optimist, as yeah, maybe we do some damage in the short term, but I feel like most of the problems we create, we can solve one day, which, we most assuredly have with technology and with, forward thinking, logic, cooperation. So I don't think there's any problem that we're going to inevitably create that we couldn't fix along the way. But of course, there's, some buffer between where it seems uncomfortable, maybe deleterious. But yeah, man, I like the thought of energy. You think about, energy is not created or destroyed, it's transferred. And that's really one of those, it's a cool, like, a hippy dippy thought, but it's very much good in like physics and such. And that one always kind of comforts me. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I'm sorry, man, I'm maybe losing like track in terms of where we're going with this, but tell me more about energy, or like about the ecosystem. Or like, what's the takeaway, man? What are we thinking here? Because I mean, I like where we're going, but I'm not seeing the destination just yet.
Well, I don't know if it needs to have a destination right now, because I'm ready to pump fake into the nutritional modality, which, but I guess to tie a bow around it, or to put a cave meditation on it, right? Cave implementation, a cave meditation on this mindset would be, if you don't see it in your life, if you don't see a value in the energy that you're bringing into your ecosystem, or things around you, objects around you, people around you, mentalities that you are like, pay attention to that stuff. Maybe get a notebook and write this stuff down every day. Like, what are your thoughts? What are you putting into your body? What is your nutritional modality? What are you feeding yourself? What activities are you doing? How much time? I mean, taking log of your time. How much time are you spending doing things that, and then ask yourself, after you take mental or physical log, I would recommend physical log, writing these things down, getting a legal pad and actually making 3 sections: physical, nutritional, mental, and so, like, just daily writing that shit down. And then pay attention to it and ask yourself, okay, or get it, like, is it moving you towards your ideal sense of life? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that in and of itself is your energy source. So if you think of if it's bringing positive energy towards your ideal sense of life, or your goals, or what you want to accomplish, maybe you don't have an idea of that yet. Maybe we have some workshops that can help identify what that is for a certain individual, or a micro program centered around that. Like, how do you know what it is? If you don't have any kind of sense it is, are you just existing? Are you just going through the motions of life? Well, then pay attention to what that energy metric is. Oftentimes I'm asked, kind of, what's the X factor? I wish I had your energy. I hear that all the time. I wish I had your energy. Well, it's no secret. They didn't wish I had my energy 2 weeks ago when I was on this cast, losing my shit. You said you didn't notice, but I was just like, like, we'll record it and I'll play that one back to this one, and you will notice it then. But if you think about your ecosystem as in that sense of energy in, energy out, and that energy out ought to be moving you towards your ideal sense of life, or moving you towards your purpose, it's made up of those little nuances of your ecosystem. So I'd say, like, the cave mentality, or the cave meditation around this, is to take inventory of those things: the physical activities that you're doing, the nutritional modalities, the mentalities, the the people, everything, the objects. Do I need, I just donated a bunch of shit today to, just to get it out of my zone. It's cluttering up my space. It's taking up time. It's taking up space. It's taking up energy. If that energy is not moving you towards something, then it's time to purge that stuff. And I would just say that taking mental note of that every single day and checking in with yourself and removing the things, like the whole thing that kicked this off was, we often talk about what to do. And this is kind of a quasi iteration of that, but this is about focusing on what not to do. And removing those things that don't move you towards your ideal sense of life or make you an ecosystem that is just void of any kind of value, if to use your kind of representation of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it fair to say that it's an issue of distractions, meaning we have energy, and by having more things or more, whatever it might be, either items, be it people, be it habits, the more of these things you have, the more distractions you may be subject to, and the more clouded purpose and the things that are out there that you would easily, not easily, but you would maybe receive, or you would come to some sort of just understanding about. Maybe that signal's more so it's insulated because you have all these things. And so to simplify your life, reduce distraction via whatever that might be, and then you might be able to actually receive that signal, as Joseph Campbell puts it, that call to adventure, that the call that sets you on your journey to find out whatever that might be. We all know the steps of the hero's journey. That's what it feels like to me, is that it's a way of distilling down and taking a critical look at maybe the things that are in your life that are distracted. And I mean, if I wanted to share mine, I feel like for the most part, because we all struggle with these things. Obviously, we have our impediments, we have our advancements, we have the things that are pushed forward, that hold us back, that keep us neutral. In terms of keeping to the left coast caveman path, a way of life. I mean, I can honestly say a few for me that might be distracted would be, the biggest one I could think of is my job. You think I love working on this stuff on the weekends. I love working on it for an hour or so at night, doing research and whatnot. But I ask myself often, why do I not do more of this? That's so fulfilling. It's fun. I learn so much from it. I enjoy having these conversations. I enjoy talking with people outside of, other cave members, right? And I'm always disappointed in the fact that I don't have more information. I don't have more content, that I don't put more time into this. And so, well, what's distracting from it? And it's unfortunate. And maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe it's once again that obstacle that becomes part of the way, which I like to think of it as more from a sublimation perspective. Is that job is a big fucking distraction when you work. And it, dude. You're a corporate marauder just as sure as I am. You spend 50 to 60 hours a week doing your job, right? Because it affords you that lifestyle. But I couldn't think of more of a distraction. Right. And everybody has them, dude. People might have, well, I have a family, I have all these other things, or I have debt, I whatever it might be. I have this bad fucking, habit of eating bullshit foods, or whatever that distractive might be. Or I like watching TV and playing video games, or but that signal's loud and clear to me, man. It's you have to take an inventory of what those distractions are. And just as well as I understand that my biggest pullback, my biggest restraint is my job. Now, of course, it allows me all these great things I have, this device to talk with you on, this house that keeps me warm, my food, all the cave waves, great steaks that got over there marinating in salt, ready to be put in the grill as soon as we're done with this cast, right? These are all awesome things that keep me in this mode, but also be aware of that double-edged sword of, well, that's also what may be holding me back. And I have to, oh man, I don't remember who said it, but it was a really succinct definition of purpose of a good life. It's to wake up every day having a problem to be solved that is worth solving. And I look at my biggest problem is my job, my quote unquote career. No, it's not a career, it's a job. Let's keep it let's call it what it is. And so every day when I think about the time I'm going to invest in working on somebody else's business, this coffee company's revenue and volume and all this other stuff, that's the biggest thief right now. Right. And we're in an alignment that I'm going to give them time. They're going to give me money. It's almost like a perverse, buttoned up less sexy way of like prostitution, right? I literally am a sellout the biggest way possible. But there's a way out, and it's a problem worth solving. I have that. A lot of people have that. I'm sure you feel somewhat in a sense the same way. So that's, if I had to think about like kind of tying it back to those impediments and the ecosystem, is like that's the malignancy in my ecosystem currently, right? And so what a great problem I have to solve. And as everybody journeys with us, it will be solved. It's easy. It'll happen. It just takes a little time.
Yeah, and I think I'll represent a slight difference of point of view on that, but I get what you're saying and I understand. And I think that Tim Ferriss does a brilliant job of that in the 4-Hour Work Week, and in talking about that. And yeah, ultimately the idea is to position yourself in a way, like the trade-off, the first step, it's kind of like the whole AA, the whole AA thing. It's like the first step is recognizing you have a problem, and with that comes a little bit of freedom. And so I think what you and I have uncovered in the process of our working together and having met in that context in the corporate environment, since that time we've stopped identifying ourselves within that. Like, we don't strive towards the corporate ladder, but we've found success within it. Arguably, the more we don't strive towards the corporate ladder. So it's, in that lies a little bit of a irony and also a bit of freedom. And for me, that's exhilarating, because I don't consider myself in a job or as an employee. Like, I see that I am selling it through multiple channels, not only the job, but is through this channel, through other projects. I'm putting myself out there and trying to create value in the marketplace. And in return, I'm paid or I'm provided for, whether it's, you name it, transportation, insurance, whatever it is, whatever that exchange is. And I'm constantly working towards a greater exchange for that value that I put out there, but also seeking ways to increase that level of value and make myself more. I always take ownership over it, I guess I should say. And in that, it doesn't impede me. I feel like where people are more impeded is when they define themselves within that job and then do stupid things like take weekends off. Like, somebody called me today, and like probably the lowest performing person that I'm acquainted with in the West in terms of like one specific industry I'm involved in and company. And this person was like, the first thing that she said to me when I called her today was, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And it took me a second to even realize it was Friday. Like, every day for me is a grind, and I'm trying to increase that. And I just did some quick math and thought, like, if you live 65 years and you take 2 days off every single year, that's like 18 years of your life. I could be doing that math wrong. If you live 65 years and you take 2 days off every single week for a 65 years, that's 18 years. I did the math twice and I could be wrong. But the point is, I think those people are more miserable in their job because they don't see it as an exchange of value between a completely sovereign entity, you, me, whose job really it is to put value out into the marketplace for an exchange. And that's what we're doing. And I'm not owned by anybody. Nobody's holding a gun to my head and saying, you do this. Nobody's holding the gun to your head and saying that. And in that, I find a lot of freedom, exhilaration. And then, yes, like, ultimately, does it create scenarios where I have to do things that I don't want to do? Yeah, but that's what men do. Like, I don't want to jump in the cold pool either when it's cold. I don't want to but it makes me work harder to increase that level of value so that, yeah, ultimately the exchange rate is greater somewhere else. And so that I never have to do things that I don't want to do. But I think part of the journey is exhilarating to find that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. And I definitely see it in a similar light, as in, I am free to do what I want in terms of, say, dislocating myself with this company or whatnot. I think for me, I understand the need for it. And I think I've outlived my value gain from this company, my value add to them. And it's a transitionary period that I'm in right now, and where I need to find it, because I realize that back to energy, there's only so much of it, right? It's not created nor destroyed. It's transferred. Well, I'm transferring too much to an endeavor that really doesn't matter to me, and to a place that doesn't bring me fulfillment and creativity. I mean, once again, we talked about this. Creativity may be, if you had to summate the purpose of life, I would say, like, with one word, it's to create. I guess that's 2 words, to create. But you know what I'm saying? Like, to make things. And I don't make a lot in that job, but when I work on Left Coast Caveman, when I do these casts, we're making something. We're making content. We're throwing back and forth ideas and creating like this interesting like loops of logic and things that maybe will inspire people, and at the very least myself and yourself. I want more of that. I'm selfish, and I'm also realizing that as time gets, I think that's the biggest danger to many of us, is the fact that we go, well, this is good. Like you always assume you have more time, and I think that's something I catch myself in often, where it's like, oh, working stuff for an hour. It's like, well, I got more time. I'll do the rest tomorrow. It's like, well, bitch, you don't know if you have more time, right? And maybe you only have 2 more years. And if it all ends tomorrow, whatever. Like, that's not a great argument. But like, let's say it does end in 5 years. Well, okay, get to it, right? And it's like, well, why aren't you doing more right now? Well, I mean, I don't know about you, man, but like, because I spend a lot of time trading value for another company. It's like, well, if I can get rid of that, think of the things that, like, that amount of energy I will have to invest in something else that I see as worthy, or something that could be more creative. Or, I mean, we're smart people, Mr. Forrest. You know what I mean? Like, you think about it, dude. Like, I don't know how much your job is kind of rote. I mean, at this level, a lot of it's pretty much, it's recycled stuff. You say the same things every year at these like annual kickoffs. You say the same things to your team. You say, not a lot of it's like real creative. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. I don't want to speak for you, but it's like, it's pretty boring stuff. And you could literally pretty much not be there, but still be all right and still do well, right? And because we've grown in this area of CPG. We're professionals, we're marauders, we're fucking, expert level fucking, journeyman when it comes to this type of business. And it's like, well, that's fine and dandy. That's great. And like, but to me right now, it's like how to eliminate, or to the very least, like, filter and sieve down that influence on my life, so that I could get on to fucking like things that actually matter, right? I want to put my energy. I mean, just think about this, Mark. If you put your energy 10 hours a day to Left Coast Caveman, if you put your energy to thoughts on how to increase, your ability to hunt and gather outside of the corporate world, like, that's where some interesting things might happen. And granted, we're doing some great stuff on the side, but like, that's where I think about it. Like, and I think about it too much as opposed to actually acting on it. So I think, to the kind of round it out again about fucking really diving into how to adjust your environment. It's like, my goal, how to reduce those distractions as well. How do I break off that habit of consistent money, that habit of safety, and the thing that we could essentially do, like, kind of with one eye open. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the true challenge. And I'm sure that resounds with a lot of people out there that go to a job every day that, they might not like that much. Or, I mean, we all do things that we don't like to do, but like, I think that's different. Like, compare jumping into the cold plunge or doing a hard workout to spending 8 hours at a forced labor camp, where they pay a little bit. I don't know if that's apples to apples. I feel like that's a whole different level of suffering. Like, George Thoreau, he said that most men live in a quiet state of desperation. And I think that for many of us,
Henry David Thoreau.
I think so. Yeah. There you go. You're familiar. You're an English major. You know about this. And that one always sticks out to me, man, because not that I'm in a quiet state of desperation, but man, I tell you what, I feel like I hide it pretty well, especially every day, every Monday, just going like, you ever wake up in the morning and go, fuck? Like,
I don't.
I do. I mean, and I'm in a different place, man, and it's not because I hate my job. It's just, I realize that this is a misallocation of time.
Well, this is, I mean, you couldn't have wrapped it up better in terms of the mentality piece. We could go on and on, but this is exactly why. What makes me say fuck is exactly that. Like, how much time am I wasting getting fucked up or doing something that's not gonna, like, I could do something more with that time. And it's all about managing that energy metric. And yeah, how do I allocate more time into the cast, into the project, into the things that I know I need to be doing, because it's a very complex program that we're attempting to build. But I feel like the community that we're building and the people that are giving us feedback, and somebody comes to me in the middle of, like, twice this week, random people came to me and were like, hey man, this made me think of you. And one was like a David Goggins thing. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even on that level. They're like, yeah, you are. Like, you inspire me like this, like the work that you guys are doing. And I'm like, wow, man, that's crazy. Two random people. And then, you know, somebody will hit me up from somebody I met in Virginia that looked at the cast and was like, yeah, you know, I'm interested in finding more information about Left Coast Caveman way of life. And it's, and so that's what makes me say, fuck, like, okay, I need to live it, live it. And part of that is removing all of the things that don't play in that ecosystem, the Left Coast Caveman way of life. And there's plenty of them. And part of that Left Coast Caveman way of life is recognizing too that, look, everybody's fucked up to some degree. It's how do you optimize the fuckery and, like, make it so that it's minimal and don't indulge in it, and recognize there's a time and place for everything. And it's the time and place now to work and to build that brick, because I mean, it's a very harrowing statement that you made earlier, that it's, I don't know if harrowing is the right word. I almost need to look that one up, but we'll be corrected if not. But to think that, look, time is of the essence. Time, you're not promised tomorrow. Like, we build this out and implement it and build the community and provide for the people who are relying on us to do that and who are asking us in the form of feedback, because it's an authentic purpose, an authentic sense of influence, and it's helpful, and time is of the essence. And yeah, if we could put, how much more would it be? How much greater would that feedback be? When I drink a bottle of wine, the feedback is, this sucks. Now I feel like shit. Now I sleep worse. Or if I get fucked up, or if I, like, part of that is kind of fun. And yeah, the feedback is okay. But when you put into this, the feedback is so much greater. Is so much more positive. And that's that energy loophole in the ecosystem. And, like, you recognize your ecosystem is a closed loop when you start removing, like, I have to think of an example, but when I think of ecosystems, I think about, like, yeah, the rain is then sucked up into the clouds and it moves over, and then it drops down and waters the plants that grow in season and all of these things. It's like, when you think about the fact that a sardine bloom out in the Pacific Ocean moves over here, and then the whales just happen to be passing through that at that time of year, that then the birds that are on that specific beach that are laying eggs on that specific time of year, it's like, those ecosystems don't allow for fuckery. They don't allow for bullshit. Anytime and that's why it's like, well, pollution and plastics in the ocean, like, fuck that up. And it's like, we're all talking about removing that while we're not talking about removing the plastics and the bullshit in our ecosystems. It's like, life can be beautiful, life can be purposeful, life can be, no matter where you are and what you're doing, the more you can trim that out. And on that note, I've got to take a 30-second break just to run out and grab something, and I'll be right back.
Do it too, man.
All right. Ooh, that's not good.
It's adhered to the worm.
Huh?
Adhered to the worm.
It's what?
Adhered to the worm.
What did?
Band-Aid. And if I rip it off, I'll pass out 100%.
Can you soak it?
I don't know. That's why I just texted my mom to ask if she has any ideas. Because it's not like the adhesive part. It's like the part that soaks the blood just adhered to the wound. And it's really stuck.
Can you cut it out and or soak it in hot water?
I'll soak it. This is a new Band-Aid over it. I cut around the original.
Why'd you put another Band-Aid on?
Because the pressure, it's hurting so bad. The pressure feels good. It feels like I pinned the needle through my nail.
You might need to go get it looked at tomorrow.
I gotta sit in the shower and get it.
I mean, you might need to
So
go
crazy,
get it addressed, you know. But I would soak it in hot water for now.
Yeah, but I'm like 100% I'll pass out if I rip it out.
Gotta do
I
that.
gotta do that.
Well, come get me if you need me. Sorry about the delay there, buddy.
Is she dead? Is she gonna die?
Maybe.
I heard.
Talk about removing things from the ecosystem.
It sounded serious.
Removing things from the ecosystem. So I had a thought as I got up. Nutritional modality.
Okay.
So sometimes, you know, you're going to introduce things into the ecosystem that aren't supposed to be there. For me, I prefer a little bit of red wine from, you know, I prefer a little bit of cigar smoke. Kombucha. I like spiked kombuchas, but I've been prompted a time. June Shine makes a kombucha with activated charcoal in it, and the activated charcoal, I've been told, as a nutritional modality, we're making a hard switch here. Nutritional modality, I often will consume those because I was told that activated charcoal cleanses the liver, as you're clearly doing a little bit of damage to the liver. But I've also was looking into activated charcoal for the sake of any kind of gastrointestinal distress, particularly if something's introduced into it, like food poisoning. That if you take activated charcoal within, like, you know, if you eat something that fucks you up, that it's supposed to help like remove that from your body. So clearly some further research to do, but I have been, let's see if I can, is that, no, I gotta turn this off, don't I? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Well,
how does that work?
pull
Activated charcoal. Nature's Way.
Ah.
Nature's Way activated charcoal. So what I do is, like, I take these and, like, maybe once every other day, I'll take them and they come in these little capsule forms like this, you know? And I'll bust open the capsule and I'll put them in with like my electrolytes or something like that, or I'll, you know, drop them in. But there's a lot of different modalities that you can use with activated charcoal. Some people clean their teeth with it. But I've heard that it's really good for the liver. Let's see what this one says. Take 2 capsules 2 to 3 times daily. Do not be taken at the same time as blah, 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 blah. Let's see. What does this actual product say about, binds unwanted materials in the digestive tract. So it like binds to it.
Does that mean that it doesn't absorb because of the binding? It becomes too large to like seep through to the, you know, obviously through like the microvilli and such, you think?
It could be. It says made from slowly burning coconut husks to create cavernous chambers that aid in absorption. Nature's Way is committed to sourcing the best activated charcoal on the planet and seeks out partners that prioritize sustainable sources of charcoal. I like this brand, Nature's Way. I tend to lean on their products when it comes to vitamins. I think I picked this up at like a GNC or a vitamin shop. But it binds unwanted materials and gas in the digestive tract.
But it increases absorption? Is that?
Oh, I think it's saying increasing absorption of it was like the way that it was made to increase the absorption of the activated charcoal.
Oh, okay.
But this is saying binds unwanted materials. Maybe I could do like a quick, so like charcoal for stomach. And that Nature's Way is one of them that comes up. Activated charcoal is used in the emergency treatment of certain kinds of poisoning. It helps prevent the poison from being absorbed in the stomach into the body. Sometimes several doses of activated charcoal are needed to treat severe poisoning. Can activated charcoal help with stomach pain? How do you use charcoal in your stomach? When should I take activated charcoal? Activated charcoal should be given as soon as possible, preferably no more than 1 hour after ingesting a toxic substance. So, I mean, it's reducing toxic substance absorption. So, like, I tend to take it when I'm drinking, like if I'm drinking. I don't know if it helps. Can I drink charcoal daily? It's important to note that charcoal can interfere with the body's absorption process, okay? Charcoal shouldn't be consumed every day or less than 90 minutes before or after nutrient-dense meals. That's interesting. Okay, well, I'm making a mistake by taking it with electrolytes then. Does charcoal detox your body? Charcoal binds to poisons in the gastrointestinal tract and stops it from being absorbed into the bloodstream. The toxins are then passed out of the body in the stool.
So I wonder that right there, that statement, I feel like contraindicates what it would do for like alcohol, because obviously alcohol, like so if you drink alcohol, the whole point of drinking alcohol is to get drunk. So if it removes it from your bloodstream, then you wouldn't get drunk. And I don't feel like it does that. I mean, I've never done it before, so you can correct me if my thought preponderance is wrong, but I'm thinking that it probably isn't doing that because are you noticing like less intoxication while you're taking that, or?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I more just did it because I thought that when it was put inside the June Shine, I thought, well, there must be a reason, and I started looking into the charcoal. It says that it's for patients with end-stage renal disease. Activated charcoal may be a viable alternative to dialysis. The reason it binds to urea and other toxins, reducing the number of waste products that filter through your kidneys. To be determined. I don't really.
I think we'll have to research.
Is it good for the liver? I think that was the deal, is that I thought like it was, well, I'm doing damage to the liver and kidneys when I drink. I ought to be doing something that's good for it as well. So this one says, is it good for the liver? Working to eliminate toxins and chemicals that linger in our bodies, taking a few capsules of activated charcoal per day can flush your system. This can help to improve mental clarity, support a healthy digestive system, and can even reduce kidney and liver problems. Does charcoal affect the liver? Activated charcoal taken internally or applied externally is well known to absorb poisons and support the liver and its work to detoxifying the blood. And I feel like charcoal, I mean, it feels like a primitive thing to me. You know, like Caveman would have been sitting around making fire and thinking like, all right, what can we do with this shit? Is it useful? Seems to be useful for detox.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I mean, it's definitely something that's in the environment. I cook with, I guess I cook with wood, I guess I'd have to understand when I think of charcoal, like the actual definition of charcoal, I think of coal, right? Charcoal, that's part of that word. So is it coal that's like heated? Like, what is charcoal?
This says that it's made from slowly burning coconut husks. So it's the byproduct of slowly charred coconut husks. Here's an interesting point. Charcoal good for inflammation, an effective absorbent for inflammatory cytokines. Ooh. So, like we heard about all the cytokine storm effects of COVID. Maybe there's something to be looked into in terms of, I'll give you half this bottle too that you can fuck around with.
Yeah, well, dude, I think that's a great introduction to something we can do a deep dive down, because we've all seen the fads of the charcoal toothpastes that have that color to it, right? I haven't heard so much. I mean, I have had June Shine, and I believe I might have had that one with the actual charcoal in it as well, which is very tasty. I'm intrigued. Yeah, maybe that's something to add. Maybe that's one of those things that's like a supplement to use if you're gonna be boozing, as a way to like ameliorate the effects of the alcohol and want to have a good time. Totally cool. We all want to do that from time to time. That's, I think, a part of our ancient history as well, is imbibing on fermented beverages. And so maybe this is a way to kind of balance it a bit. And I think that's actually really cool. I think I definitely think it needs more research to kind of look into the pros, cons, and some of the efficacy of it. But I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like cave approval for a nutritional modality, I mean, you think about it in terms of its primitive state, charcoal would have been around. There seems to be more net positives than negatives, and it's a detoxing agent. It seems to be cleaning the blood. Anecdotally speaking, a glass of wine or two every day, and then popping a couple of these in my drink, I seem to feel like I'm operating at this moment in time at a higher functioning level. Is it because it's hard to point a finger at any one thing, but obviously toxins in your bloodstream, like why even, implement any kind of a detoxing modality? Well, to me, I think we're introduced via our food sources, even the healthiest that you can get, to like toxic metals, inflammatory agents, our environments. And it's summer, it's winter time. So like primitive man would have been having fires. I'm not sweating as much as I usually do in the summertime. So I'm not naturally detoxing as much as I would be. So maybe implementing it in the winter time could be a good cave implementation of this nutritional modality. I know I'm stretching the narrative a little bit on this, but why not?
I'm at the very least willing to look into it, do some research, and try it as an experiment. Hey man, you haven't led me astray on L. reuteri. Did I say it finally right? Reuteri?
What is it?
L. reuteri?
Oh, L. reuteri?
Reuteri, god damn it.
Lactobacillus reuteri?
Hey man, I still do it. So you got me turned on to that, and I was a little skeptical at first. So once again, I think I would provide, I'll come from a place of ignorance on this and just I'll take a leap forward and see what it's about. So who knows, man? I like to enjoy the occasional, if not more frequent, beverage. And as the audience has seen me probably suck down 2 of these so far. So
yeah,
Okay.
charcoalremedies.com, liver disease, kidney, brightlifeclinic.com, bright, BRIGHT, brightlifeclinic.com. 10 ways to use activated charcoal. Seems to be like there's some benefits to it. It was and it's a clean label product, Nature's Way, in terms of if we want to plug a product, Nature's Way. What I try to avoid in any kind of pill is and that's why I bust the capsules open, is I don't want the gelatin, although it's just gelatin and charcoal. Not that bad.
You know what gelatin is?
No. I kind of do. Isn't it I don't want to guess. You seem to really know, so I'm going to let you educate.
Well, gelatin's it's collagen, man.
Collagen, yeah, that's what I was going to assume. I know that it's a byproduct of boiling bones.
Yeah, so no problem, right? So gelatin is somewhat innocuous, even though you think. I actually have some covered I just bought because I'm trying to do some experimentation that I've recently failed with by doing sugar-free pudding with protein powder and collagen, and it just none of it fit. So I'm trying to figure out that mess. I had to just drink it, which was kind of interesting. But I wonder what makes, just the one last thing on the charcoal, and we'll come more prepared next time with maybe some thoughts and experiments on it. But what makes it activated?
Good question.
That's a strong statement, because that stands out to me. Activated charcoal as opposed to inactive inert charcoal. It's what the fuck does that mean?
Well, we could just I can always edit out the research part, but activated charcoal, or why is it called activated charcoal? Charcoal is activated when it's heated to a very high temperature. This changes its structure. Heating gives the fine carbon powder a larger surface, which makes it more porous. And it's interesting, when you put it into a drink, you see it kind of bead at the top. I wonder if it's just that's its ability to bind to molecules.
Yeah.
In a particular way.
Yeah.
What is the difference between charcoal and activated? Activated charcoal is a powder comprised of wood, bamboo, coal, or coconut shells that have been burned at a very high temperature. In contrast, regular charcoal combines coal, peat, wood pulp, petroleum, and coconut shells. As the name tells us, activated charcoal is charcoal that is activated by exposure to high heat.
And it makes it more porous, so that maybe it has the ability to bind to things because it's larger and things fit into it and get stuck, maybe?
So it's made in the presence of gas.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Causes the charcoal to develop lots of internal spaces or pores. These pores help activated charcoal trap chemicals.
Yeah, there we
activated charcoal, is commonly used to treat poisoning.
Dude, keep all this in. This is really great information. For us, all of us, you, me, and the audience members to understand. And I think, once again, I think I'm going to go a bit on the rabbit hole on this whole charcoal thing and see how I can, inculcate it in my life, and maybe it'll make boozing a little bit better. That hangover a little less, severe the next day. I like it, man. Good record.
Yeah, and it's in keeping with the Left Coast Caveman here, because its first documented use of activated charcoal goes back to 3,750 BC. It was first used by the Egyptians for smelting ores to create bronze. By 1500 BC, the Egyptians were also using it for intestinal ailments. Oh. It's been around since 1500 BC to treat intestinal ailments by absorbing unpleasant odors and for writing on papyrus, which it's clearly something that is used for writing, because I don't know if you can tell, but I busted these open and completely destroyed my white shirt here. So caution to the audience, make sure you're wearing something dark if you bust these little capsules open, which that's how I like to drink. That's how I like to do it. I don't like to take a lot of pills.
It'll buff out.
It should. Fitness modalities. So we've been talking, again, it's like winter time. So to me, I'm still getting in active. I'm still getting in my daily workout, but I'm not as able, and I'm nursing a knee injury still. Two topics I want to talk about, but one I want to zero in on, maybe tee this one up for next time, is blood flow restriction as a modality when you are injured, because that's how I've been still training, even though my knee is really jacked up. But long story short, between like it being winter, so it's cooler outside, the days are shorter. I'm less likely to want to work out when it's dark outside. I don't know why. I like to get out in the sun. I like to sweat till I'm wet as a primary modality, or a daily modality. And it's harder to do that. But I've noticed the Tabata timer makes it more fun, for one, and it makes it more like executable. You don't think it's fun?
It's not fun. No, fuck that, dude.
I love it.
Hard stop on fun, no, but executable, yes.
I think it's fun anytime I'm doing something that's challenging, I'm having fun. So let me clarify fun. I'm not like, yay, this is a great time, I'm having fun. It's more like, wow, this is really working, and I'm surprised that it is. That's fun. Because I do it like 20 seconds on, like I'll pick an exercise. Like if I'm doing, and this is how I've been implementing it into my routine. So I'll do it, like sometimes if I'm traveling or I'm in a hotel or something, I'll do nothing but Tabata body weight stuff. If I'm doing push-ups, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And my goal is 8 to 10 reps in that 20 seconds. And then in the 10 seconds off, I'm doing some kind of a stretch or a yoga pose or something like that. So I'm still moving. I'm not resting. But what I've been doing is implementing like, say I'm doing upper body. I'll do some kind of a cardio move. I shouldn't say some kind. I can't run. I can't cycle. I can't do anything cardio. So I'm boxing. So I'm just, doing my heavy bag routine. I'll do that for like 5 minutes, and then I'll do a resting period, and then I'll do 5 minutes of like a strength training exercise, and then I'll throw on a Tabata to kind of superset that strength training. For example, if I'm doing like flies or something like that, then I'm going to then do a Tabata chest movement to complement whatever I'm doing and throw that into the workout. And I might throw like 3 or 4 routines into that. But I find it fun because it gets me to that point of failure. And failure is fun to me.
Yeah. I've done a lot of research on the Tabata protocol, and I think it's super interesting. It's one of the more well-researched and efficacious ways of increasing your anaerobic and aerobic, which is very interesting. That's one of the big differentiations between the Tabata program and other ones, is that it affects both energy metabolic systems, the anaerobic and aerobic, which I thought was really cool. And by the way, just to plug it, leftcoastcaveman.com, fitness modalities, there's an article posted kind of giving some of the history around the Tabata protocol, some of the experiments done on it, as well as what that looks like, and a link to an app, which I use. I think you use the same one as well. Dude, it's indispensable when it comes to Tabata. You can't do it on your own with your stopwatch. You need to have, nobody's got time to fucking stop, and especially during like this kind of high intensity type work. So get the app. That's the only way to do it, in my opinion, if you want to do it right and do it strictly. But it's it's a really cool protocol. And you think about all the different ways to match intensity to the reps, to the rest, to the exertion, to the how many times a week. The Tabata protocol is a one-stop shop for essentially having all that dialed in. You don't need to think about it. Get the timer, get your exercise teed up, and fucking go. And know that you're going to affect maximally your anaerobic systems for fucking gains. I love it, dude. I mean, and just give everybody an overview of what the Tabata protocol is. And granted, experiment, right? So you mentioned during your rest, you like to stay active and do things. That's fucking cool. The Tabata protocol, at least in the research, the person's being investigated, they didn't do anything. They stopped. And that's weird to me to just stop. I mean, I might do that if I'm weightlifting. I might stop and not do anything in between. But so that one's kind of strange to me. And then in terms of sets, they do 8 sets. And here's what's really interesting. This is something that's not done at maximal. So you ideally, and this is, you're gonna have to titrate it in yourself. You want to keep the effort consistent between round 1 and round 8. So if you did a sprint, as in like all out effort in round 1, you're probably gassed out by round 3, and your watts per minute or reps per minute or per second, whatever metric we use to measure exertion, is going to be degraded just by the exertion itself. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So you might want to almost govern it a little bit if you want to stay true to the Tabata protocol. I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. It's just something I've kept in mind, that you want to be a little more consistent in the effort output throughout round 1 and round 8. So, and just to give you everybody an overview, the Tabata protocol essentially is 20 seconds on of that we'll call it sub-maximal work. So about 85% of your max or above, right? Okay, wherever that might be. And then you have a 10-second rest period, which if we go strictly by Tabata, you're not doing anything. You're just standing there. You're recovering. But that feels weird to me. But you know, in just giving it what it is in the experiment, that's what they did. And then you do 8 sets, and that's essentially on the app. That's where you go. So what I thought was also interesting, Edward Fox, just quoting a study that they did. They found no difference between training Tabata 4 days versus 2 days a week. And I thought that was very interesting. Like, if you want to be most efficient, you only need to do 2 days a week. Doing it 4 days, that's a waste of time. Don't do it 4 days. 2 days a week. I do it 1 day a week right now, and sometimes 2 days if I'm strapped or I find myself on the road or somewhere where I don't have my equipment. So, I mean, that's a no-brainer. You can hit a Tabata, 4 minutes all in work. And dude, back to what we talked about earlier, it's not fun to me. Now, I love challenging myself. And I was a little naive the other day. I think you were calling me, as a matter of fact, and I couldn't answer because I was at my girlfriend's house, and she had some kettlebells, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a kettle workout, but I'm gonna get the blood flowing via a Tabata, and I decided to go with, we'll do burpees. And within the third set of it, I'm like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Like, this ain't shit. This maybe doesn't work with body weight. By round, I think 4 or 5, I go, oh fuck. This is getting sloppy, and I'm getting that feel sorry, like, oh, fuck. Just like you won't stop, but you want to, and that's a good place to be at. That is an indicator that you are exactly where you should be right now. Is that place where you want to stop and you're not going to. So I love it. I do it at very least once a week. I did it yesterday on my road bike. I crank up the heat on my little wood pellet stove over here, and I get it going, man. I'll do it like 55 minutes of just like zone 2, and at the end I'll hit that Tabata just to fucking put a cap on it, and it's fucked, and I love it.
It's fun.
Yeah,
that's the fun to me. So a couple questions I have for you. So yeah, if you download the Tabata app recommended at leftcoastcaveman.com and the Tabata article, it should come preloaded as that
Yep.
That setup that you're talking about. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 reps. What do you recommend? And I love that your experience with it has been the same as mine. I've been on Tabatas for a long time and didn't even realize kind of why or what I was doing. I just noticed that they work. If I'm in a hotel and I can't get to a gym, I'm doing Tabatas because I've noticed, 3 rounds in, and I've got a whole series of Tabata workouts that I've created that I'll post at leftcoastcaveman.com. In ways that I implement them into my fitness modalities. But I love that for that reason, because minimal equipment needed. You can literally pick any kind of movement of the clear blue air, clear blue, just think of something and like try it in a Tabata format and you will work. You will sweat. My question is, when you say, or two questions actually, when you say maximize aerobic and anaerobic for maximum gains twice a week, and like let's say that's a cave implementation of this modality, minimum twice a week Tabata, what does that mean? And then second, what do you recommend in terms of, it's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 times? How many different exercises should you do? Should you be done at that point, or could you do should you do 4 different exercises and call that a workout? Should you do 6 different exercises and call that a workout? Is there any kind of guidelines around that?
Yeah. So to talk about like anaerobic versus aerobic, there's like energy systems, although they work in tandem, right? So you think about anytime you start exercising, within like the first 15 seconds, you're almost exclusively aerobic, meaning you're using like your creatine phosphate, your internal fuel source. You're almost operating before, like you're obviously taking in oxygen, but you're not really using oxygen to break down glucose and such. So you're breaking down creatine phosphate to fucking re-phosphorylase ATP to, stimulate muscle contractions. And then you go into aerobic. Well, as soon as like you start really there's a point where you're taking oxygen where it becomes inadequate, and it becomes inadequate for a few different reasons. Maybe you can't take in enough oxygen, or due to vascular issues, or maybe there's essentially at like the mitochondrial level where there's only so much oxygen and glucose that can go in together, and it starts building up. Like the demand far exceeds what you can actually physiologically take in. That's where now you go back into anaerobic fermentation type metabolism, and things start backing up. That's they talk about the burn. Well, it's not necessarily lactate. Lactate, that's a whole other really interesting subject, which I don't pretend that I'm an expert on it, but I've done a lot of research on it and realized that lactate isn't the reason why you actually feel that burn. Everybody talks about the lactic acid burn, that's fucking false. The burn is more about the hydrogen ions that are fucking accumulating based off of the breakdown of glucose and it not being able to attach properly. So that's a whole different thing. Lactate actually gets, in a lot of athletes, lactate actually is used as a fuel, and it can be shuttled to other areas in the body to be used as a fuel. So it's a really interesting molecule. But so anaerobic, aerobic, just think aerobic is more about using oxygen. Anaerobic is without oxygen, and you especially in a sprint, you'll use both of those systems. So that's and what makes the Tabata protocol stand out is that many other sprint protocols, and just to quote one that was used in this the study by Izumi Tabata, this was I'm not even going to try to name this fellow's name, but this was an experiment they did at the National Institute of Fitness and Sport in Japan. The one of the modalities they trained there, I think it was speed skaters, was the Tabata, and the other one was where they trained at a VO2 max of 200%. They did max effort, 3 to 4 bouts, 30 seconds of exercise. So max effort at 30 seconds as opposed to sub-maximal at 20 seconds. And they did 2 minutes rest between sets. And that modality actually grew the anaerobic, but it didn't do anything for the aerobic. Now, do we know the reasons for that? Well, maybe somebody does. I don't. I couldn't find it in any of these PubMed articles. But what I really like about it is the fact that I was very conflicted in the different ways to do sprint protocols. For the longest time, Phil DeRue, loved his material. I think he's an amazing, trainer. I was doing the 15-second all-out sprint with 45 seconds of rest, and I would do that for 5 rounds. And it's okay, that felt great, but why was I doing it? I don't know, because he told me to, and he said, that's this eminent trainer that trains these MMA people, great. But maybe he had a source code for that, protocol. Maybe he had some evidence. I don't know. But I look at this and I go, well, this is some pretty clear evidence on this one protocol that's very similar to Daru, compare and contrast versus the Tabata. It's the Tabata worked both the anaerobic and aerobic. It's amazing. Okay, let's go with that for now. So I want to just, when it comes to exercise, and not just based off what somebody tells me to do, not based off bro science, but I'd like to have a little bit of backing of science that says you're on the right path. This is the most efficient way to train whatever it is you might be trying to train. And if you're looking to train both and I feel like most of us are, if you want to, we always think of, at least I would think when I'm training for sprints, I'm thinking I'm doing mostly anaerobic. I would think that that's the focus, but the Tabata protocol showed that they were able to generate gains in both anaerobic and aerobic through this protocol over that set amount of time. I think that's I mean, once again, you're getting two birds stoned at once. Why not? Right. Yeah. And then go back to your statement. You mentioned doing multiple times a day. They didn't touch on that. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like they were doing the Tabata at multiple iterations. I've never done it more than once.
I don't mean like multiple occasions. I mean, for example, when I do Tabata workout, I'll pick, let's say, 6 to 8 movements that I'll do. And the setup for each movement is 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 times. So I'll do that round, which is like what? It's a 2-minute round or something like that. 8, like that's in the workout for the day is like, and that's what I was saying. Do you recommend? Can we talk about a cave implementation of the Tabata if we're gonna agree that the maximum benefit is twice a week? So not doing it 4 times a week or not doing it every day. Is there any recommendation in terms of number of sets?
Yeah, they didn't explore that. And the way that research made it sound like they were only doing, I mean, I'm sure they were doing other training, right? But they were doing this particular protocol just 2 times a week. Well, they obviously tried it, compared to the first 4 days. My only concern with doing it multiple times in, say, a workout. So you're talking about doing it like, you're obviously spreading out to other body parts. You're doing like 6 to 8 times during like that, say, an hour workout. You're using that like
I'll run through like I've got or lately I've been doing it 3 times in the middle, like as implemented throughout my workout. Like I'll do 3 different Tabata rounds, but like I've got a series where I do. Here's one workout where it's jumping jacks and like 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. It's like jacks stretch, burpee box stretch, squat press, bands, dumbbell swing, clean press, band press, curl, weighted crunch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be 5 rounds of Tabata of 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 times, which is 30 seconds times 8, which is 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So like it's a 4 minutes times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So it's like a 20-minute workout. Not that much, right? So it's, and then I've got another one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a cool down. I'll do like a cool down Tabata. So I've been using it as like a way to structure my workouts. Like, and I found that to be extremely effective. Like when I did that with a leg routine, I will get so sore. I'll tell people, I'll be like, yeah, come do this leg routine with me. You won't be able to get in and out of your car 2 days later. And we won't touch a single weight. Yeah. But it's like, it's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 times per move. And it's probably like 8 moves. And that's a workout.
Yeah.
Any reason why that would not be a proper implementation of the Tabata?
Well,
if it's effective?
Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad thing. So I think in terms of getting a workout in, like any workout's better than no workout. And it seems like a great way to organize your workouts, especially like, just for the uninitiated or just like, hey man, this is a structure I like. And that's totally cool. But I think if we're looking at a way to boost, like in the spirit of the Tabata at like, you're just about sub-maximal of your work. Like I find it hard to believe that using Tabata with jumping jacks would work. Right. So it would work in terms of its great strength endurance, maybe. Right. But it's not working like your anaerobic system. I find it hard to believe that anybody could, maybe I could be proven wrong, but like get to an anaerobic state with jumping jacks. You know what I mean? That sprint.
Yeah. I think I put it at the beginning of the workout for like a warm up routine, like using it as like part of like I've set because the cool thing about that Tabata app is you can set it for how many rounds you do. So you could, so basically I like to just check out, I like to know that, and like the jacks routine or like a cool down routine, I'll sandwich a workload with like just get my body moving and like get in the spirit of like doing jumping jacks. And then on the 10 seconds off, maybe I'm just doing like a yoga pose or something, just getting in the movement and getting into the flow of it. And that's what I've found to be beneficial is like the dings, and it's like it has certain sound signals that go off. And so you can kind of just get into a flow state with your workout and listen to the dings, because it'll count down and it'll ding and you'll know to go, and then it count down and ding, you'll know to stop, and then it'll ding, ding, ding when it's like done. and then it restarts the next, like there's a, because you can set it for like rest, and then it's or warm up period, and then there's like a rest and a working period, and then it'll cycle through that. So I just find it like a cool way to structure a workout.
Totally. Oh, dude, it's great. I mean, it's great because if you allow your brain to just like calculate when you need to rest or when you need to like get back to it, like that doesn't work. So having an objective measure. In my gym, I have one of those. I have it programmed so that, oh, there we go with the crystals, buddy. I sit down.
Yeah.
Like I have a timer, a big, like an actual gym timer in my gym. And so when I'm doing boxing, I just go on number 3 and it has my boxing protocol already preloaded. I have a number 4 is my battle rope fucking anaerobic destroyer. So it's like I have these all preloaded. Or number 1 is jujitsu rounds, 5 minutes on, you know about those. So yeah. And on the phone, it's just a no-brainer to be able to like program it in, whatever it might be. But no, I don't think what you're doing is wrong. I just think if you're looking to like maximize Tabata, like in the spirit of what it was meant to be, it's more about like sub-maximal, very like it would be like multi-jointed exercise. Like burpees is a great example of it. Like I feel like it would be hard pressed to get like the anaerobic and aerobic advantage benefits from doing a Tabata with maybe like curls, but maybe so. I don't know. I haven't done that in a while. I don't think you're wrong. I think like with Tabata, I don't know like how many, I mean, maybe there's more research out there. I can't say that doing 2 times, like maybe doing 2 of those for like sprints, would that be deleterious to getting those gains? I don't know. I'm using this as like that research and as a way to kind of guide the way I'm going to use Tabata. Not to say I wouldn't use it outside of that scope or that it's wrong for anybody to do it, but I'm just going off of based on that research. But yeah, what you're doing, I mean, it seems like a good way to, I mean, it's working for you. Keep doing it. And I invite other people to experiment with it. And who knows, maybe somebody will come up with the next Tabata that's even more efficacious than theirs.
Maybe we determined it right now, right here. But I mean, cave implementation is definitely go to the leftcoastcaveman.com, look up the Tabata, download the app, use it at minimum 2 times a week.
That's it. You've always got 4 minutes. Anybody that says I don't have time to work out, fuck off. You got 4 minutes. Everybody has 4 minutes. You might be afraid of what those 4 minutes hold for you, as you should be, because those burpees are fucked, or as you put it, fun.
Yeah. But cool, man. That's Saturday. That's an hour and 30 minutes. That's a good rip. I'll get it posted this evening, or I'll get it downloaded this evening, posted tomorrow. That is Saturday, December 10th, 2022. I called it LCC cast number 47. I have no idea. There was one in the middle that was part of it was a junk in my ecosystem, let's call it, that needed to be removed via physical, my own physical removal of that junk substance, much like the activated charcoal does to unwanted substances in the digestive tract and the bloodstream. So this is more another detox type of cast, but it's always good to touch base and have a free flow session on what we're doing, mentalities, fitness modalities, nutritional modalities, and what not to do. And this was a good what not to do, or this was kind of a little bit of both, but also like when you find yourself determining that you're doing something, it's some things in your ecosystem that shouldn't be there. I think we offered some good points today on what to do with those, and one of them is also the mentality of I don't have enough time. Kick that bitch out of your ecosystem and implement the Tabata.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful technology, man. Powerful technology. Use it, abuse it.
Powerful. Energy is created. Energy is not created or destroyed, but transferred. I love that. Really? Thanks for bringing that. So managing the energy metric is what we want to do also. What can you do with more energy? A lot more creating. And that's what it's all about. And that's why we're doing this project. So appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Good health.
Same to you. See ya.
Later.